Hi, little ones. Hi again. Today we're going to read another story from Curious George's 5-Minute Stories. Now, we are halfway through this book. There are 7 more left. So after I read the next story, there'll be 6 more books, 5 minutes, that takes 5 minutes to read out of this book. So, today's story... Take out my bookmark. If you guys like the bookmark, check the links below. And message me. I have so many different metal bookmarks along with some stones, some glassware, and some charms that you can add at the end of the bookmark. So today's story is going to be Curious George Saves His Pennies. Now, if you look at the picture, do you notice where they're at? I see lots of toys, so they must be at a toy store. And the toy store is called Tammy's Toy Store. And I'm going to put on my glasses. Okay. George was a good little monkey and always very curious, especially when he was in Tammy's toy store. There were so many things to wonder about. Pogo sticks, skateboards, snow globes, and kaleidoscopes, and even finger traps. But George's favorite thing to do in the toy store was to play at the train table. Today there was a new train. Its wood was painted bright red, and it had a real working whistle. George wanted to show it to his friends, the man with the yellow hat. "Not today," his friend said. "We're looking for a birthday present for Noah. Remember? He's turning 5. George helped his friend pick out a yellow and green hula hoop. While Tammy, the shopkeeper, wrapped the present for the birthday party, George wandered back to the train table. Oh, my grandboys have a train table very similar to this, and they love to play on it. "I have a suggestion, George," said the man as he carried the gift over. "Why don't you buy that new train yourself? The tag says $5. I'm sure you can save the money for it." George liked that suggestion so much that he was only a little sorry to put the train back down. George had a good time at the birthday party. Noah let everyone have a turn at the hula hoop. It was harder than it looked. As soon as George got home that afternoon, he took his piggy bank down from his dresser. He opened the small plug at the bottom and shook. Out tumbled a nickel. George ran to show the coin to his friend. "You have 5 cents, the man said. "I'll give you your allowance early this week." Allowance in some places, if you keep up chores at home and you clean up your room, you do extra things like you take out the trash, you clean up after other people, things like that. Those are called chores, and sometimes some people get money for doing chores. "Don't spend it on candy. You have to save it up." The man gave George 2 quarters. "Here is 50 cents, he said. "Now you have 55 cents. You have only $4.45 left to save." George wasn't quite sure how much money it was, but it sounded like a lot. George dreamed about his red train that night. He was riding it through the forest of trees. He tugged on the whistle again and again, choo-choo, so that no one could miss such a shiny red engine. In the morning, George decided he would have to find a way to earn his money faster. What if someone else were to buy the red train at the toy store before he could? He had an idea. One too many. George found 5 pennies and a dime in the sofa cushion. He found a nickel under his bed. His piggy bank jiggled nicely that evening. He had 75 cents saved. One more quarter, and he would have $1. The next morning, he had another idea. He would get a job. Luckily for George, his neighbor, Mr. Reddy, needed help raking leaves. George worked all morning long gathering armfuls of red, brown, and gold leaves to add to the growing pile in the center of the yard. Mr. Reddy brought out lemonade for the two to share. While his neighbor rested on the sun porch swing, George climbed a tree. Uh-oh, monkeys like climbing, don't they? And they like to get in mischief after. Let's see what happens to them. The pile of leaves looked tempting from above. George wondered what would happen if, before he finished wondering, he had swung out of the branches and right into the center of the pile. The leaves crunched and crumbled and swooshed and swirled. What an adventure! What hard work it was raking the leaves back up. But at the end of the day, Mr. Reddy paid him $2. George now had $2.75 saved. That was almost $3. Now, for some of you who can do math, he has to get to $5. Right now, he has $2.75. Can you think on how much more money he needs to get to $5? He's at $2.75. How much more does he have to get? I'm gonna give you just a short moment. What do you think? I'm gonna wait. He has to get to $5. He's got $2.75. Do y'all know how much that is? He has to get $2.25 more cents to get to $5. Let's see how he's going to get there. George spent many days doing odd jobs. He washed windows, he distributed flyers, he delivered flowers, he did dishes. At the end of the week, George finally had $5. "I'm proud of you, George," said the man in the yellow hat. "You saved all that money by yourself. You've sure earned that train." The change clinking merrily in the piggy bank as George set off to the store for the toy store. The autumn day was bright and clear. George walked. By the park, the neighbor children were playing with a windsock. Suddenly, it got stuck in a tree. They needed George's help. Why? Because George can do what? What does he like doing? He likes to climb up the tree, right? George carefully set his piggy bank down on a nearby park bench where he could keep an eye on it. But little monkeys sometimes forget. As George went from helping to play, he forgot to check that his piggy bank was still there. As the afternoon wore on, his friends went home to have dinner. George rushed to the park bench where he had left his piggy bank. The toy store might be closing soon, but his bank was gone. Maybe George had the wrong bench. There were many in the park, after all. He was so disappointed each time he ran up to another empty bench. George walked home sadly. He wondered how it would take him. He wondered how long it would take him to save $5 again. As George passed the toy store, he happened to look through the window. He couldn't believe his eyes. A little girl was holding his piggy bank. George rushed into the store just as the little girl's mother was saying, "We found this across the street and waited for its owner, but it's getting late. We saw it had the name of your store at the bottom. Can you keep it in case someone stops to claim it?" George jumped up and down on the counter. "Why, George," Tammy said, "is this your piggy bank? Is this yours? You're lucky Hannah and her mother found it." Hugging his piggy bank tightly, George rushed over to the train section. He located the shiny red engine right away. As he carried it to the counter, the little girl looked at the train shyly. George realized he had not thanked you to her for keeping it safe. He looked at his train. He looked at his piggy bank. He looked at Hannah. Good deeds deserve to be rewarded, he decided. George set the train down. He upended his bank on the counter and began to sort out the dollars. Meaning upended, meaning he turned it over and started shaking out all the money out of the penny, all the pennies and coins and all the bills, trying to get it out of the piggy bank. George and Hannah walked out to the toy store that day, each carrying a train. George's small engine was not red, but it was shiny and red and blue, and he had paid for it all by himself. Best of all, he had a new friend who loved to play with trains almost as much as he did. Aw, that was very nice. So he rewarded her for taking the piggy bank and was waiting for him to return, but he never came back. So they took it to the store, and he was nice enough, and they both got a toy out of it. They both got a train. That was very nice of George. All right, I know some of you probably get get your chores done, and some of you might actually get paid to do that. But there are lots of ways that even if you don't get paid for your chores, still do your chores anyways, and do what your parents and your grandmother and grandfather, aunts and uncles, you do what they tell you to do, and you be nice. I'm sure if they have the money, they will get you a toy of some sort or something that you want, as long as you're doing all the things that you're supposed to do. So, if you like this book, this is by Margaret and H.A. Rays. This publisher is Houghton, Mufflin, Harcourt. If you want me to read another book in particular that you would like your child to read me or want me to read in a video, please go check out the links below. There is a link to the Facebook page for this particular channel, same title, and there I have lots of information, a lot of times about the books being read. Sometimes I'll post about things that I make that do relate to the books. And also in the links below, I also have my business page, and there are tons of different stuff that I do hand make, so you can check those out. Also as well, please like this video. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also tell other parents about this. If you guys are old enough, your kids are old enough, please tell your friends about this YouTube channel for them to check it out. I would greatly appreciate it. And you guys, have a good day. Bye-bye now.